go to some questions that were offered to me for response through the Stellar Media Relations Department, headed up by past potentate Dion Hose. Outlook for the 2021 Imperial session? I don't know. Statistics are showing daily through the news outlets that COVID cases are on the rise in Pennsylvania. And while we have not met the levels of many other states in the domain, okay, still our governor and our mayor and our legislative bodies are showing caution, okay, to allowing large meetings. So as we are briefed by local officials, okay, we will brief you. There is planned a winter dive-in meeting in January and a convention planning meeting to coincide with that. We're hopeful that we'll be able to hold those meetings here in Philadelphia, okay? But that could change depending upon the turn in the number of cases diagnosed and the number of deaths occurring in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. There's been a virtual creation process created and approved. The Imperial Lecturer, Dwayne Thomas, and the ICE Department will be doing training with deputies on how to conduct these virtual creations. It's been approved by the divan. And in some circumstances, folk will be given permission to go to actual face-to-face meetings and creations, depending upon the circumstances in their locale. Now, I've received requests from 3 deserts: Desert of the Bahamas, Desert of Western Europe, and the Desert of Korea. The government of the Bahamas has opened up the nation. In Western Europe and Korea, the United States military has approved everything but social gatherings and participations in establishments of fun like bars and restaurants. So those deserts will be given permission to go back to actual creations and actual meetings following whatever the established COVID-19 guidelines are for those areas. It's a good idea, but it's an idea that requires the process to be tempered. I'm going to put it before the divan for discussion. And when we come up with what we feel are feasible solutions to this, you'll receive them in the minutes that come from the Imperial Council divan meetings that are held. There will also be a virtual exaltation process, and working with the Imperial Court, a virtual past commander's degree process that will be developed and will be hopefully approved by both divans for implementation. Until such time as we're able to either have an Imperial Council session or go to the virtual exaltation platforms, those folk who served in 2018 who were not exalted, and those who served in 2019, of course, you didn't have the opportunity to be exalted in Baltimore. You may present yourselves and be recognized as actual past potentates, past illustrious potentates, and actual past illustrious commandresses. However, at the first notice of the exaltation process, you must present yourself, okay, to participate in order to maintain that status. I am an alumnus of Cheney State University, which was Cheney State Teachers College when I attended. And I also attended Benedict College in Columbia, South Carolina. These colleges and universities were a mainstay in the elevation of African Americans to success and impact players in this nation. And we just can't let them die on the vine. Part of my suggestion around this has been that the $50,000 contribution that we receive from the convention cities where we host our conventions would be divided into 2 scholarships from each city that would support a student through their 4-year experience in a historically Black college or university. A step in the right direction. The second level of this giving will come from the fact that I am recommending to the Divan that I'm going to elevate the amount of giving from each court and temple across the domain, so that coupled with the $50,000 that we received, we will be able to continue our funding of our MOU with the American Diabetes Association, support other health initiatives in our communities, and also make other significant donations to either students and/or schools of learning, most frequently characterized as historically Black colleges and universities. It's another step to ensure the longevity of our community. I've appointed a committee of 3 individuals who are now actively engaged in and developing this initiative. There'll be more to come as they present their thoughts and ideas to the Imperial Council Divan. To date, we have written checks totaling $25,000, not including the donations that the Imperial Court through the courts raised for this effort. So we're well above the $25,000 threshold to our nobles and daughters and citizens in the various communities impacted by the storms in Louisiana. An enterprise agreement with the Imperial Council to cover the courts and all of the temples. It's a bit pricey and a bit expensive. So if you continue to operate your own Zoom account, okay, the cost is minimal, maybe $150, $170 for 12 months. And it still allows you to meet and engage and make decisions. That's not possible. The insurance expense and cost is due no matter what occurs. Now, unfortunately, in 2020, they did make a reduction in our overall costs because of the pandemic, and this was a practice that most insurance companies were employing across the nation. But that goes away with the June 2021 premiums. Okay. Now, some people say, well, we're not having events, so how do we raise the funds? Well, I know a lot of courts are having events. I get the reports every day. Okay. So folk are out there doing online fundraising and raising monies. And then the throwback to that is you haven't had any real expenses because up until September, you couldn't even meet. And the cost of the insurance, the total package to each temple and court doesn't exceed $400 for the entire year. So the expectation is, okay, people are going to pay their premiums and be protected in the event that anything occurs or unfortunately, if there's an accident. Okay. So that's not going to change. It's a business proposition, a business process, to which I have identified 7 individuals who have expertise in insurance brokering, who are going to represent this Imperial Council in negotiations with Holmes Murphy and any other broker who wants to participate in bidding on our offering. That's your choice. You control the platform. If you want to let them in, you can let them in. If you choose not to let them in, you don't have to let them in. Virtual meetings for temples and courts will continue into 2021 until such time, on a case-by-case basis, okay, we have the opportunity to allow you folk to revisit physical face-to-face meetings. What's important is your members. Membership is the most important commodity in this organization. What I am proposing to the Imperial Council Divan and what I have offered to the Imperial Commanders is that where we have a struggling temple or court, small numbers, older members, who are really having a difficult time meeting the obligations and responsibilities of an active temple or court, that we can arrest the charter. In the case of the Imperial Council, we would place them in our holding temple based in Memphis. They would be allowed to continue to wear the fez of their temple, okay, and pay their per capita tax directly to the Imperial Council, thereby sustaining them as a member in this organization, but not necessarily having a physical temple or court in an oasis.